Young Thug YSL RICO trial. GA, Georgia versus Jeffrey Williams. So this is Georgia versus Jeffrey Williams, which is Young Thug, who they tried to get everybody to flip on. Yeah, this is going to be bad for you, Thug, if they keep this trial going. Let's go.
I am going to accept the plea as negotiated and sentence in accord with the negotiated recommendation. As I said before, find there to be a factual basis for count one of the plea. I find the plea to have been freely, knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily entered into by Mr.